I'm your host, Alex Blake, and today we have a guest on the pod, and I'm super excited. Her name is Teagan. Say hey, Teagan.
Hi, guys.
I am so excited to have you on, Teagan. We were talking before this, and I was like, okay, I need to stop our conversation and record because I just want everyone to hear everything about your life.
No, I'm so happy to be here and give a little insight into my modeling career and how it's been for me since I've been doing it for so many years, and I'm just excited to chat.
Yes, I am seriously so excited. How do you say your last name? Is it Teagan
Litten, like kitten, but with an L.
Oh, but see, I would say kitten. I wouldn't even say kitten.
Oh, that's true.
You said it so proper.
However you want to say it.
Litten. It's so proper. Anyway, Teagan Litten, or Litten, whichever you would prefer, is a model based here in Charleston. But recently, she's like a world traveler, guys. Like, she has just been flying all over the place, like living her life, her best life, really. But yeah, so I'm super excited because she has been a model for a long time. She signed with a really like high esteemed agency here in the like low country kind of area. So, or really, I guess Directions is kind of nationwide.
Yeah, I think they're more based in like the Carolinas, but I think they do shoot all over.
Yeah. So I'm just really excited to get to like hear really your story in general. So why don't we start with you just talking about your life and tell us your modeling journey, tell us the journey of you being a world traveler, like just tell us about you.
Yes, so I graduated from College of Charleston May 2023, and I graduated with my degree in communications. I got my associate's degree while I was still in high school, so I didn't have 4 full years of college when I was in college, which was nice. And then... Did
you dual enroll?
What'd you say?
Were you dual enrolled?
Yes. So when I was in high school, I was doing both, but it was really nice because I loved like being ahead of my classes, and that was just like the best way for me to do it. And so then when I graduated, I either had the options of like finding a full-time job or traveling. And then when I found out about World Packers, which is the app that I use, you can volunteer at places all over the world and stay there for free. So that's what I did I did 3 months in Central America volunteering, and then I'm going to do 3 months in Europe in the next few months and just travel for the next few years until I'm done.
That's insane. Okay, that's super cool. So you traveling really has like nothing to do with modeling.
No, and it does actually put a little bit of I can't model as much while I'm traveling, obviously, because it's harder for me to be in specific places when they need me for shoots. So actually, before I left, I told Directions that I wanted to take like a leave while I was gone. So now that I'm back, I need to get some digitals done and get those out there and get started again.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk after this. I can help with the digital side. But that's super exciting. Okay, so obviously the traveling is like your new adventure right now. And it's such a cool thing when you're young and you can just like, okay, I don't really have responsibilities right now. Like, I'm just going to go and I'm going to like volunteer and make the most out of my life right now. Like, I think that's such an appealing kind of thing. But go back to like the modeling side of things. How old were you when you started modeling? Tell us like that whole journey.
So I was 16 when I started modeling, and I had been wanting to model ever since I was younger, but my dad was kind of strict against like not using my looks and using my brains. So it was never really something I thought I would do. And then I grew up in Roanoke, Virginia, and we heard something on the radio, and it was like, come to this modeling call. You can be on a show with Justin Bieber. Like, you'll be in music videos, all this. So I like begged my parents, we go. And the original agency that I got connected with was called Get Connected, and it was actually a scam. So
that's what I was going to ask you.
Yeah. So we paid like hundreds of dollars of them to keep my website up, and it wasn't for nothing, because at one of the shoots that they had planned for me, the photographer, his name was Jose Amigo, he pulled me to the side and he was like, I think you would be a great fit for Directions USA. I can send you down there. Wow. They can know you're coming. And I went like the next weekend and signed with them. And ever since then, I've loved being with them.
Wow. Wait, so you were living in Virginia when you got signed to Directions?
Yeah.
And they're based in North Carolina,
Yeah,
right?
so they're based in North Carolina, so I would drive up to do digitals, but anytime that I had a shoot, they were pretty much always in like Pineville, North Carolina. And so I would wake up at like 4 a.m., drive 4 hours, shoot, and then drive home.
And this is when you were in high school.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a lot.
Yeah. But it was so worth it because like I had never heard of anyone else locally to me doing it. So it was like I felt like the coolest person ever getting the opportunity to do it.
Yeah. So did you move to Charleston or not until you were in college?
Not until I was in college. And at first, none of my modeling work came from directions because they were still shooting in mostly like North Carolina. But I had been posting on social media so much that I was getting a lot of like freelance random shoots just from local Charleston artists. Because as you know, in Charleston, there is so many photographers and businesses looking for models and things like that.
That's crazy. So what do you feel like? Because I mean, obviously like modeling is really fun, but at the same time, it is really hard work. And if you're waking up at like 4 a.m. and go while also being in school, what was it that even like drove you and continued to push you to do it?
It was honestly just the hope of being able to make it into something bigger and make it into a bigger career because you never know if your looks is what the market's going to be wanting now or later. And so if you're having shoots, then you just have to like run with it because you never know if you're going to be in style or out of style. So I think that it was really just the adrenaline of that. Like I would wake up at 4 a.m. and I remember I would just drive like the full 3-4 hours with like my windows down, blasting music, and then get there and shoot all day.
You made the best of it. Yeah. Which is so fun, but it is definitely like a crazy thing. I have like, I sent you the notes before of like all the questions, but I'm like, I want to bounce around them a little bit more than just like going through it because something that you just said, like modeling is such a funny industry when it comes to like, it does have to do with your looks. How do you stay confident? And this was like one of the last questions I was going to ask you. So I'm just like really ripping off the Band-Aid of our schedule today. But like, how do you stay confident when it really is about looks? Like that's a hard world to be in, I feel like. Have you ever experienced any like hardship with that? And if so, how do you stay confident?
Yeah, I think that when I first started modeling, people didn't really understand why I was modeling, and I would always get told I'm so generic looking, which I do think I am very generic looking just with like the brown hair and like I don't have any specific facial features, and I think that's what they like as having a lot for models. And I think when I first started out modeling, I had a little bit trouble with like the weight and not wanting to gain any weight because usually they want models to be more skinny. But really throughout college, I gained a lot of weight and I had, more curves on me. But my agency never once told me like, oh, you need to lose weight or you need to be this type. Oh. So I think it just depends the type of, specific agency you're with. But I also have had such a good support system. Like my mom is my best friend, and throughout everything, she just always tells me that my body is my number one priority and modeling second.
Yeah, that's so good to remember too, because I definitely just think it would be so hard. And especially starting at such a young age, like high school to college, like, of course you're going to gain weight. That's so normal. Like you're becoming a woman, like that's such a normal thing. But when you're in an industry like that, it is a question mark of if someone's going to say something that can impact you really for like years to come. But do you do more commercial work or editorial?
Commercial, but I want to do more editorial because I just think it's so fun.
Okay, explain for anyone who's listening who's like, I don't know what the difference is. Explain kind of the difference between the two.
So editorial is definitely more of like a creative shoot, and you get to play more with like poses and facial features, and you don't always have to be like super bubbly and smiley. I do a lot more of like the e-com shooting, which is for like magazines or websites, and they'll cut it right below your nose. So you're just smiling the whole time. And I think because I just have straight teeth, they're like, put her in the e-com, put her in.
Yeah. You have a great smile, Teagan. Like for those of you guys who don't know, Teagan actually modeled for my photo camp last April. And we were trying to make it work so that she could model for the March one, but she's going to be off traveling the world and things. So it's fine.
I know.
I told her we can like put photo camp on the road.
Yes, I would love that. I was saying, like, I met you through photo camp, but so many other photographers too. I've kept in touch with, like Drew Lowry, I think.
Yeah.
He's the sweetest. He's been such a big support on my social media, and I just met him that one time. But like, I would love to shoot with you guys again when I'm back.
Oh, one day. I'm so excited for it. You know, it's funny that you mentioned Drew. I'll send this episode to him, so make sure that he listens to it. But I think that you remind me of Drew.
Stop! That's such a compliment.
Which is so funny. Like, I'm not even kidding. As you were like telling your story, I was thinking of Drew, and I was going to text him after and be like, wow, Teagan really it's like the way that you guys talk is very similar.
I love it. That's such a big compliment.
I know. That is so funny. But I do love how photo camp makes the world so much smaller and like it makes our industry so much smaller. And like it truly is community. Cause like obviously you're a model who was saying like, okay, Drew, I met him at photo camp. He's a photographer in Texas, you know, but like as he continues to grow as a photographer, who knows what opportunities that could give you too. But I was talking to another model. Actually, she was a model with you in your shoot from April, but Elizabeth, she was talking, and I call her Liz, but she's Elizabeth on Instagram, so I feel like I should do that for everyone else. So it's weird to call her Elizabeth. But anyway, Liz was talking, and she's so connected with another photographer named Becca who came to that one. Becca has literally stayed at her house when she's visited Charleston. They had dinner last night. They shot together last night. And like Liz texted me last night, and literally like 2 nights ago, Liz and I were talking about how connected she's been with Becca, and she's gotten so much work through Becca too. So it is so cool how it's like not just creating a community of photographers, but also of like anyone in our industry, like creatives. In general.
Yeah. And talking about Liz, I actually met her for the first time at Charleston Fashion Week. I had no idea who she was, but like we just clicked and started chatting, and then we ended up at the same shoot together. So it is crazy how that works.
Yeah, I absolutely love her. She actually got baptized just a couple weeks ago. She's like been in my small group since like 2 weeks of her living in Charleston.
Wow.
Like super crazy. And I met her at a shoot too for a like wedding dress designer named Shauna.
I love her.
Who is in my small group
also,
too. Oh, you know Shauna
I've
too?
also shot with her.
I love it. I feel like Charleston is such a small town when it comes to like the creative industry. It makes me so happy. But I've been thinking about doing some type of like creative meetup or something like that, where like it's just like a networking for fun. I don't know, inviting photographers in Charleston, inviting models in Charleston. We'll see if I do it. But now I'm saying it on the podcast, so
it has to happen.
It's fun. Anyway, okay. So do you feel like, obviously you haven't been like traveling for modeling, but do you feel like traveling and seeing different parts of the world and like different people groups is going to maybe impact the way that you model?
Yes. I think that like culturally, there's a lot of representation that goes into modeling, whether it's like spreading trends or spreading specific pose styles. I notice it a lot when I go to Spain. When I go to Spain, all of the modeling all over is super smiling. But here it is so much more editorial, like a lot more grungy looks, less just like bubbly and more focused on the clothes, I guess. So it's definitely interesting seeing, because here, especially in Charleston, it's so based off of like wanting trends to start so that more clothes can be sold, like the whole overconsumption thing. But in Spain, it's a lot of just like buying for convenience. Like if you need a piece of clothing, you'll buy it. So I don't think that they're as pushing for specific models there, or at least from what I've seen in like the smaller towns. And so I think it's really important to travel to see the different editing styles, the different posing styles, to see like what you can bring back and, you know, use for your own self.
Yeah. I feel like that's such an interesting thing that you said, like you went to Spain and the thing you're looking at is like the models, you know? And I do the exact same thing. Like one of my favorite things is to go to the mall, which people make fun of me for, but like I love the mall.
Yes.
For some reason. Especially at Christmas time. Like give me a Starbucks cup, you know, the little Christmas cups, and like let me walk around and look for my Christmas gifts at the mall. Like I love it. But one of my favorite things to do is to look in the windows at the pictures And I get to like feel inspired by these photos that are hanging up. Like, and it's so funny because my husband doesn't look at them at all, but like everywhere we pass, I'm like, oh, I love that photo. Oh, that photo's interesting. You know, like, oh, I love that one. I'm like telling him all the time. So I feel like we're similar in that, but we're looking at different
Yeah, I
things.
do the same thing. Like every time I go into a mall, I just manifest and I'm like, I want to be up there. I want to do a shoot like that. I want to work for this brand. And I think it's so nice seeing that like other people, especially now I see a lot more of like influencer type people. Like you don't have to be a big high fashion model in order to be put up on a poster. So
yeah. Yeah, that's so true. And like, I feel like advertising has really changed since probably like 2020, since TikTok really took off. Like, so many people use influencers now. It's kind of crazy. And even like New York Fashion Week, influencers are invited, not just, you know, models and stuff like that. Like, it's really opened the game for a lot of stuff when it comes to like that. Hey friends, Alex Blake here. Just wanted to interrupt really quick to invite you to Photo Camp. The 2025 Photo Camp is March 13th through 15th in Folly Beach, South Carolina. If you're a photographer looking to level up, find inspiration, or just build community with other creatives, this is the camp for you. So here's what we can expect. We're going to do 10 styled shoots throughout the weekend so that you can add them to your portfolios. We're also going to stay in a luxury camp house by the beach, and we have 5 educational speakers featuring sessions from Georgia and Micah McMaster, Preston Luke, Shelby Cuenca, Danielle Hickman, and me, Alex Blake. We're also going to take care of all of your meals so that you can focus on learning and creating and connecting, but spots are super limited. We already have some people signed up, and I would love for you to join us. In fact, from now until January 1st, if you mention in the application that you listen to the podcast, I'm going to give you $100 off an all-inclusive pass. So what are you waiting for? Head to photocampinfo.com to apply now, and let's make 2025 your most creative year yet. See you there. Okay, let's talk about kind of your relationship with photographers. I know you were talking about you obviously like connected with Drew, and he's a big support to you on Instagram. And I'm sure you have so many other photographers that are like that. But what are some things you feel like at a shoot you kind of wish photographers would know or maybe do better? Or even like, I don't want you to like, you know, talk about all the issues you've had with photographers, but like, you know what I mean? Like, what are some things you wish we could do better at a shoot day?
So I think the number one most important thing that helps me feel confident during shoots is when the photographer is just talking and like hyping you up. And I know it's such a small thing for the photographer to be behind the camera being like, oh, that looks good. Like, yes, do that. But I've been to a lot of shoots where they don't say anything behind the camera, and it makes me feel more self-conscious because I don't know if the pictures are looking good. I don't know if my face is giving. Yeah. So I think that just getting that little assurance behind the camera is 100% self-esteem booster. And I think on the same page-ish as that, I've also done shoots booked through like Instagram, so it's myself setting up for this, but with like older guys, and they've maybe asked me to wear things that I wasn't comfortable in, but I've worn them anyway because it's for the shoot. And I think it's really important that people know if you don't feel comfortable doing something, you don't have to have a reason. You can just say like, oh no, I think this would be better. Like, you don't always need to listen to the photographer if it's something that's going to make you uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's really good. And when you're talking about that too, are those like just like styled shoots that the photographer is setting up and asking to be with you?
I've only done a few of them, but it's always with like an older male, and he's asking for more like cheeky photos. And obviously I'm like, okay, anything to, get my modeling career out there. But looking back, like, it's like I was a little too young to be showing all that, and it was unnecessary.
Yeah.
So
that is unnecessary. And I think like that's such a good thing to note too. Like, as the photographer, when you're doing something like this, like, we need to make sure everyone feels comfortable, because obviously, like, to me, immediately I think, and I'm like, ew, like about that. At the same time, benefit of the doubt, sure. It's like hard to say that, but also I'm like, okay, but like, anyone can accidentally make someone feel uncomfortable, and like making sure that everything you're doing makes the model or anyone that's on set with you feeling comfortable needs to be our number one priority as photographers. And I think that's super important. I definitely think I learned that a lot with my seniors too, of like making sure that they always feel comfortable. And little things I try to just like, okay, I work with a lot of like female seniors, right? Sometimes if it's cold outside, then like, you know, if they're wearing a thin dress, you can tell that it's cold outside. But like a rule for me is like, I'm never going to say anything about it. Like I notice things, but I will never say something about it. And there are times like it happened literally like 2 weeks ago. The mom turned to me and was like, hey, can you edit that out? And I was like, yep, of course. I already saw it, you know, like, but I'm never going to be the one to say it. I'm just going to edit it out. But instead of like, if you're the photographer and you mention something like that, it immediately feels the subject like can feel uncomfortable because they're like, oh, you noticed me. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of awkward. Like, have you ever had that where somebody like mentioned something and you're like, I just wish you wouldn't have said anything?
Yes, multiple times. And I think too, for like models, I feel like I kind of feel a step below the photographer, since the photographer is having so many models usually come in and shoot. And I'm just like one of the many models filing in. So you want to just be like this perfect statue that like looks good and everything. But I've definitely had the times in the past with like the nipple issues or if it's cold outside. And I love what you're saying. Like, don't point it out until the model points it out to you, or just like edit it out later, because it's not really something that needs to be, you know, focused on.
Right. We don't need to talk about it. Like, I'm just going to edit it out later. Yeah. I've definitely I was talking to one of my model friends. I won't say her name just because she shared this with me, but I don't know if she wants the world to know it. But like one of the things she said that she has a hard time with sometimes with photographers is like we can often get in a rush with our shoots. And especially when it's similar to what you're saying, there's a lot of models filing in. We're doing a lot of e-com stuff. So it's like boom, 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 really quick shots, like front, back, side, you know, and then you're out, next model. And she was saying one time when she was feeling really rushed at a shoot by a photographer, the photographer grabbed her arm and told her where to stand. And he wasn't, you know, trying to be aggressive, but it felt very uncomfortable to her because he grabbed her arm and it was like a physical thing. And sometimes like what you were saying, like it's kind of like you're told to just be a statue and stand there, but like you're a real person. And as photographers, that's something I think we really need to work on, is like every little movement that we do matters when you're working with another human, not just, oh, I'm trying to get this shot specifically, let me just grab you and stand there. So one little thing that I always try to do is like if I am fixing hair or if I'm doing something like that, when I'm working with a paid model specifically, I always say, hey, is it okay if I touch you? Is it okay if I fix this? And like ask before I touch a model. And I specifically, I mean, I think maybe I did that before, but I specifically am like really intentional about it after hearing that person's story.
Yeah, so I think that's definitely so important for photographers to do with models, but I think it's also important for models. Like whenever I have a shoot at the beginning, if I already feel comfortable with the photographer, then I let them know and I'm like, you can touch me like whenever you need to. So you don't have to check every time, but I make sure to let them know that I am comfortable with it. And it's because a lot of the time it's just a lot of hair, like fixing the whatever, and letting them know before, like, it's okay, you can touch me. Like I feel comfortable. And I think that's also important on both ends.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we just talked about a lot of like negative things. So tell us like your favorite thing about modeling.
So my favorite thing, it's hard because there's so many. The first thing that comes to mind is just like, I've never felt as proud as I have like for when I booked big shoots, or like big shoots in my eyes. So like when I did magazines, like my mom bought all the magazines. She was so excited. And it's just like, that's something that's been such a dream, and being able to accomplish that means more to me than like going to college and, you know, these other accomplishments. But other than that, I would just say the experiences it gives you. I'm a very independent woman, and I love nothing more than to like get up early. No one else is awake. Like I'm driving, I'm going to a shoot, I'm getting my own coffee. I'm doing the entire workday by myself, meeting everyone, making connections, trying my best to be a good model. And then, you know, getting to go to lunch by myself, and then just having kind of a whole day to myself while meeting new connections and new people is like my favorite.
That's pretty cool. I mean, it is such a fun job when you think about it. Like the experiences that it gives you are so unique and so different than so many other jobs. Like it's so fun. Would you say some of those bigger shoots have come from you kind of booking them yourself, like almost freelance, or do you think most of them come from being signed?
Most of them come from being signed. whenever I did a lot of like Belk when I was in high school.
Cool.
And all of my magazines are through Directions, so they really help me get the like wow ones, and then the smaller ones I do on the side because it's like small businesses who need help with like a little bit of modeling, and of course I'm like more willing to help them and not charge them too much. But like when I first signed with Directions, I used to have like blonde long hair and a nose ring, and
really,
and they made me.
I cannot imagine that.
They made me cut my hair because they always want it like above the nipple for if you're like shooting a top so that it's not covering any logos or designs. So like as soon as I signed with them, I cut my hair, dyed it, took out my nose ring, and
that's wild.
Here I am.
So were you naturally blonde?
No, I was dyeing it.
Okay. So they were like, go natural.
They were like, go back to your natural. So now like I know if I want to model again while I'm here, I'll have to cut like a chunk off, which will be good.
Wow. You're like, I should. I love your hair though. It's so long. We were talking earlier before we started recording that she's going to come back from Europe and just like have dreads. She's already got the braids going, like
for sure.
And when you were traveling, you said Spain. Where else did you go?
So my dad actually lives in Spain, so I go there quite frequently. Cool. And I'm going to, when I go in spring, I'm going to do Spain, Portugal, and England. Fun. So just like spurts of 3 random places at a time. But I would ideally love to just book that like one shoot that rockets the career and then like travel for modeling full time.
Totally.
But then again, that is like the hardest thing about modeling is you never know when you're going to be booking a lot, and it's usually in like more inconvenient times. Like I've had months where I'm like, this would be perfect for me just to be shooting back to back. And then I don't book anything. And then when I'm busy with like other things, I have shoots come up. So it's hard to plan.
That is, it is hard. And it's also a little bit unique in the sense of like, obviously for photographers too, we can feel the same way where it's like we have busy season and then there's times where it's like nothing's coming in, But what is different is we can go out and make our own work. And for you, it is a little bit unique in the like, you have to wait for a shoot to arise, which is interesting.
It always feels kind of weird too. Like, if I've obviously done it, but like reaching out to people and being like, hey, do you want me to model for you? Like, do you need a model? It just feels a little weird coming from the other end.
Totally. And it is nice that you're signed because obviously people reach out to the agency and then they can connect it to you. Do you have any tips or like thoughts on when photographers are looking to connect with an agency rather than a model? Because I do think a lot of the times, like especially beginner photographers, like we just don't know, like we don't know how to get connected with models. And so we're just DMing people, you know what I mean? So is there like, do you have any suggestions on like how to connect with agencies instead of just DMing the model?
Yeah, I mean, I think that Instagram DM is a wonderful place to make connections. And I have booked so many like freelance shoots through there which are incredible.
Yeah.
And I honestly, specifically for Directions, because they are so local and I know so many people that have signed with them, they have such a broad range of people they work with and they are easy to get connected with if you just reach out to them. So I would definitely recommend for photographers just to reach out and say, are you guys looking for interns, or if you have positions opening, or I would love to come and shadow. I think that there's a lot of, agencies in the area that would be willing to take that on.
Yeah, that's cool. One thing I did too when I lived in Atlanta, I worked really closely with Click ATL. I don't know if you've heard of them or not, but they were a pretty big agency in the Atlanta area. I worked with a lot of their models, but I basically like in the area that I was in, I wasn't getting a lot of fashion work, but I really liked that at the time. And I was like, okay, I'd love if I could continue to do something like this, like just for fun shoots, just want to be creative. And this was like pre-photo camp days. Now I get to do like and plan a lot of styled shoots just for fun for photo camp. So I don't do this as much. But I basically reached out to them and said, hey, if you have any new faces, like new models that have just been signed and need work, I would love to like get to shoot with them. And so it was great. Like I did a couple for free and then I had some paid ones too. And I was able to get work for really fun shoots. And a lot of the time they didn't care what the style was or anything like that. They were just like letting me plan the shoot and they show up as the model and then they have like work that they're able to put in their portfolio for it. So that was a really fun thing too.
Yeah, I think for test shoots, that's actually like a perfect idea because for a lot of people, if it's their first time modeling, they just want to test shoot to like be comfortable in front of the camera. They want it styled, so it gives a lot more freedom to the photographer. Obviously, if you have someone who's been modeling for a long time, they may want to shoot with someone who like has done a million other test shoots and this and that. But I think to start out, like new faces, that's the best way for photographers to get in there and show creativity is through a test shoot.
Yeah. And it's so nice because, like I said, you can plan it from scratch and be really, fun with it. But also you can help them to feel really comfortable in front of the camera too, before they move on to like really crazy photographers. You know what I mean? And really crazy like brands that they're working with and stuff like that. But okay, what is one lesson from modeling that you feel like surprised you or that you didn't expect?
Maybe just that sometimes with like e-com, it's not about like getting the perfect shot. It's about like moving through outfits fast. Like if you're shooting for a brand or company and they, have a certain amount of clothes they want to get shot, you don't have to worry about like having the perfect smile in all the photos. It's more about rapid shooting, rapid posing. And I can't tell you how many times before shoots I've spent in front of the mirror just like trying different poses or like taking a video of myself. And I think being able to move fast but still like stand still so the camera can obviously shoot you is important and something that goes a long way within a shoot.
Yeah, that's cool. It's almost like dancing with a beat.
Yes.
Like having the beat of like freezing and then being able to fluidly move into the next one for the next beat. Like totally.
And some of the faces like that you think or the poses that you think would look awkward are the best ones. Like if you feel awkward, it's probably a good photo.
Honestly, I'm probably going to use that line for my next shoot. Like, I know it feels awkward, but it's a good photo.
Yeah, it's how it is.
That is so good. Okay. Last question. What crazy modeling story do you have? Like, tell us something where something was really funny or went really wrong. Just tell us the tea.
The first one that pops to my head is when I did this shoot for a magazine back in high school, and it was like a super fun shoot. We were basically gluing gems all over my face. So we did like green gems all over my lips, and then we did like sideburn gems of something else. And it was like the coolest shoot, but it was so tedious, like gluing each and every gem. And I remember
I bet.
I left and I still had to drive 3 hours home. So I was like, just leave it on me. Like, and the whole ride home, I was just like plucking little gems off my lips.
For 3 hours?
Yes.
That is so crazy. How do you, okay, wait, this was not on my question list, but how do you keep your skin so glowing and beautiful when you're like constantly having gems on your face and other random stuff for modeling?
Thank you, first of all. Second of all, honestly, just washing, I was going to say facials, but I really don't get facials enough for them to make an impact. Just constantly washing your face. And that is something too that I've also learned a lot from modeling. Like every time I get my makeup done, first of all, I absolutely love it. I feel so luxurious. And every time I try to get like their favorite makeup product or their favorite makeup application. So my makeup routine now has really just evolved to be a bunch of tips and tricks from makeup artists all over. And so I think because I only wear makeup like it when I want to, I guess, I'm not like constantly just putting it on and off, that definitely helps as well.
Yeah, I definitely find that too. Like when I have days where I just like have a reset day, my skin looks so much better even just the next day, where it's like I didn't wear makeup and my skin could breathe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I guess for modeling is really important if you're like having a day where you have like a full face of makeup, like giving your face reset days is probably important.
Yeah. Whenever I leave shoots, I always ask for a makeup wipe, and I'll just take my makeup off with a makeup wipe and then wash it later just to get the original buildup off.
Yeah, that's super smart. Okay, tell everyone where they can find you if they want to follow you, follow your world traveler and modeling journey.
So all of my links on all platforms is just at Teagan Litten. You can maybe write it because I feel like people have a hard time spelling my name.
I was about to say, you should tell everyone how to spell it.
But it's T-E-A, like a cup of tea, and then G-A-N, Teagan Litten, like kitten, but with the L.
Litten like kitten. Yes. That should be your Instagram.
I know.
Honestly, that's funny. But yeah, seriously, guys, like she has been posting the most, oh my gosh, just like the most cool travel stuff. You want to go and see it, even though it's not modeling like a ton currently. It'll just make you jealous and want to be a world traveler too. So yeah. Yeah, like we talked about, you guys know I have to plug photo camp at the end. But yeah, if you want to work with models like Teagan and get to be connected to more people in our creative and photography industry, photo camp is for you. And the next one is in March. And I would love to see you there, get to meet you and get to be creative together. So grab your camera and let's go to camp. Okay, guys, I will see you guys next Thursday. You've been listening to Let's Create with Alex Blake, and I'm your host, Alex Blake. I will see you guys next Thursday. Bye.
Bye.